This is a bit of a different video, this one. I'm making this video for people like me who have had a transplant or been through some sort of life-altering surgery and they're wondering they can still do hard things. So when I had my surgery, I guess I was pumped full of fear quite a bit. I was told I couldn't do the things I was doing at the time, like fighting, surfing, probably even to avoid things like yoga. But fast forward, I've been doing those things, and right now I'm training for an Xterra triathlon. So it's not a case that you can't go on to do hard things. You do need to approach them a little bit differently though. So the first thing to be aware of is managing illness. If you're immunocompromised, the main thing that's going to derail your training is getting sick. And we need to be aware that when we train for something, particularly when we train hard, we do have an immune response to that activity or that exercise. We are in a more vulnerable position post-exercise. One way you can attenuate that somewhat is consuming glucose immediately post-exercise, really within 10 minutes. So a lot of people talk about that post-exercise protein window. It's fairly well been debunked. If you are eating 3 meals a day, you probably are getting your protein within a decent amount of timing post-exercise. But it is really important for everyone really, in terms of recovery as well, to be consuming that glucose post-exercise very soon after you finish. Obviously doing all the smart things are important, sleeping well, not being under too much stress, listening to your body. And these are the sort of things I'm very good at giving advice on, but not so good at taking it. I am currently in a week, end of a week where I've been ramping my training back up after having a cold, where I still continue to train hard through that cold and end up with a sinus infection, which is often a thing for people who are immunocompromised. So making sure that you're okay to stop when it feels like you are getting run down, and managing your stress and your energy levels through eating well, sleeping well, and trying to avoid stress where possible. Things like my swimming sessions, I do err on the side of them being outdoors rather than indoors in terms of proximity to people and germs, etc. But being winter here now, that is getting more difficult. And if you are training in a public gym, being really diligent with hygiene, wiping things down, washing hands, etc. are all important things, obviously. Everything you eat is either going to be a weapon or a weakness. As mentioned, glucose straight after exercise is really important. Consuming glucose throughout the day as you're going to be upping your calories might not be as great. If you want to consume glucose and sugar, doing that around some exercise is the best time to do it. And this is for everyone. When we consume glucose, sugar around exercise, it is absorbed straight into the muscle rather than needing insulin or an insulin spike to transport it. So that's one thing to be aware of. Most people will have different guidelines around protein, sometimes even hydration intake, so you'll need to be aware of that. But in terms of protein intake, it can, when you start to get into a zone of wanting to train harder, etc., it can be easy to fall into that idea of we need to dramatically increase protein. One thing we need to think about is on some of these anti-rejection drugs, it is very hard to sometimes near impossible to build more muscle. But that doesn't mean you're not going to get stronger. Strength is how well our brain communicates with our muscles, not how big our muscles are. And if you look on YouTube, guys like Anatoly, he has some viral videos that go around where you can see him lifting heavier weights than guys that are easily double his size. It's not about how big you are, it's how well you can use your muscles. So doing some training where we are getting stronger, we are getting more resilient is more important than training in gym and getting bigger muscles and getting stronger, particularly if you're training for something like a triathlon. The type of exercise that you do is important. If many people who have had something like transplant will have increased blood pressure, and counterintuitively, isometric exercise can be really useful in helping vascular function. So isometric exercise is where we're holding position and we're creating tension in our muscles holding a position, which you would think would increase blood pressure, which it does, or nearly all exercise does. But we do get some vascular improvements out of that, which have been shown to reduce blood pressure or at least help to manage it. So as mentioned, strength is important, but strength is a neural thing. So not being concerned if you're not putting on muscle or changing your body shape. Getting stronger and looking at the numbers is a more important thing. And isometrics alone can be amazing and not only improving our strength, but also improving our performance, especially when we look at isometrics are a range of different exercises, everything from a held position to coming to a position and holding it really quickly and creating fast tension has also been shown to be as effective as things like jumping and plyometrics. for improving power and performance. And as with all sort of training, we want to make sure we're progressively overloading. So if you're starting at the start, make sure that you start easy. And again, the isometrics can be a very good bridge into some of the other training, and just ensuring that you have command over some of the positions that you're going to find yourselves in, even if it's around positions in running, swimming, riding, or lifting, or whatever it is you want to work on. Often erring on the side of doing higher reps with lighter weights and then building up your weight ranges, but knowing that for nearly every sport, there's a diminishing return on how heavy you can lift and how that affects your performance. So using your strength training smart so that it is actually helping you being more resilient and is helping your training, and not taking time away from actually doing sport-specific type of training. So if you are navigating life with some sort of condition like this, you still can do hard things, and me doing this Xterra thing that I'm training for at the moment is part of trying to prove that, I guess, still to myself and to other people. But hopefully stay tuned to this. Hopefully I am going to cross that finish line. You know, being winter here, I'm dealing with all those things above, which is why it's so top of mind, and hopefully putting some of those things out there for you is helpful. I know that I searched for a lot of this information myself when I originally had my surgery, and there wasn't much out there other than forums and things where people weren't doing amazing. So there is hope to do hard things. You just need to do them differently. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them and happy to chat, and I'll see you in the next one.